otherwise empty coffee shop, had sized up the situation in an instant and demonstrated all the strength and courage that had completely deserted Olivia. Instead of hurrying out of the coffee shop to safety, she had instead run to the barista's aid, yelling at the junkie to stop. Startled, he had paused his relentless, horrifying random attack and had eased away slightly. That had been long enough for the barista, battered and bleeding and crying in pain, to pick up a carafe of coffee and throw it and its piping hot contents at him. Olivia could still hear his outraged yell and the shouts of a neighborhood police officer who had finally responded to her call, ordering everyone down to the ground. In 5 minutes it was over, but Olivia had relived it for days, especially coming face to face with the stark realization that she was a craven coward. Steve Harper would have been ashamed of her. Amazing the lengths a person could go to deceive herself. All this time Olivia thought she was strong and decisive and in control. In certain areas of her life, maybe. Hadn't she moved away from her hometown in Northern California to go to college 12 years earlier and never looked back? That had taken strength. And she had built her own social media marketing company in her own time, working nights and weekends until she now had clients across the globe. Of course, she was terrified to take the leap and make her side hustle her full-time job. She still put in long hours handling information technology for a medical conglomerate, because the pay was good and the benefits amazing. Even though her ex-fiancé worked in the administration for said conglomerate and made her life unnecessarily difficult, simply because she had broken off their engagement 6 months earlier. She was constantly running from any situation she found emotionally threatening. "Are you going in?" A man was holding the door for her, she realized. He was about her age and not bad-looking in a slightly rumpled professor sort of way. She started to take a step inside after him, but fear froze her in place. She couldn't do it. Not yet. "I'm waiting for someone," she lied. "Here's a crazy idea. You could always wait inside, where it's dry." He smiled, his brown eyes friendly and with a glimmer of interest. "I'm good," she mumbled. He shrugged and let the door between them close with a disappointed sort of look. Yeah, she was a coward when it came to dating, too. She had one serious relationship in college that had ended by mutual agreement. Then she had become engaged to the first guy she dated out of school, until she realized neither one of them loved the other. They were simply together for convenience. She had convinced herself that a mildly enjoyable relationship was the safer choice. What if she loved someone passionately, fiercely, and then lost him suddenly as her mother had her father? 16 years later, there were times Juliet still seemed shattered. So many things could go wrong. A car accident, a plane crash, a heart attack. A burning building where a man might run inside to save people despite his daughter begging him not to do it. Olivia shoved her hands into her pockets against the damp Seattle afternoon. Nothing would take the chill from her bones, though. She knew that. Even 5 days of sick leave, huddling in her bed and mindlessly binging on cooking shows, hadn't done anything but make her crave cake. She couldn't hide away in her apartment forever. Eventually, she was going to have to re-enter life and go back to work. Which was why she stood outside this coffee shop in a typical spring drizzle, with her heart pounding and her stomach in knots. This was stupid. The odds of anything like that happening to her again were ridiculously small. She couldn't let one man battling mental illness and drug abuse control the rest of her life. She could do this. She reached out to pull the door open, but before she could make contact with a metal handle, her cell phone chimed from her pocket. She knew instantly from the ringtone it was her best friend from high school who still lived in Cape Sanctuary with her 3 children. Talking to Melody was more important than testing her resolve by going into the cozy kitchen right now, she told herself. She answered the call, already heading back across the street to her own apartment. "Mel?" she answered. Her voice slightly breathless from the adrenaline still pumping through her, and from the stairs she was racing up 2 at a time. "I'm so glad you called." Glad didn't come close to covering the extent of her relief. She really hadn't wanted to go into that coffee shop, not yet. Why should she make herself? She had coffee at home and could have groceries delivered when she needed them.